don't forget the filming, she said. Okay, here we are. It's Monday morning, 5 o'clock. We're leaving for Hornsund, and outside I think it's a balmy 2 degrees. So that's why we're dressed up. We're ready to lift anchor and then go for the next 165 nautical miles to Hornsund. Still 6 meters. Is it free? Okay. Okay. So Anton, how is it going?
Well, we've left Bjørnøya and we are heading for Hornsund. It's going to take roughly a day and a half, maybe less if we're lucky. And we've got a nice steady easterly wind. We've got one reef in the main. Sea state is good.
How's the temperature?
Well, I was hoping you weren't going to ask that because it's actually very, very cold. It's not cold where we are sitting at the moment because we've got the protection of a very nice sort of mini cockpit enclosure which gives us full access down below, but a break to the outside, so it's less than 2 degrees. And when you're handling anything metal or wet, it is quite uncomfortable.
Our route, whilst it looks a bit adventurous here just because of the distortion of the chart, is actually one straight line from here to the entrance of Hornsund of 150 nautical miles at a course of 340 true. If I zoom in a bit, we see there's a few boats around. These are fishermen. I think that one's a cruise ship here. We're going nicely and everything's fine so far. We have made about 30 nautical miles of our 165 to do, so it's about 135 to go to Hornsund. The wind is steady 12 knots, 13-14 knots from the east, and the sea state is very calm, actually not a lot of waves, so it's very comfortable ride. We're making 6.4, 6.5 through the water, and there's a bit of tide or current pushing us, so we're doing over 7 at the moment over ground, which drives us there quite quickly, and the temperature is still about 2 degrees, so there's some wind chill coming to that as well, so we're really glad we have this cockpit enclosure that keeps us warm and protected from the wind. I was just having a little nap when Catherine alerted me. The wind has completely shifted. It's now coming from the southeast, so right from behind, and that's not what I like really. So we had to jibe, and now we're on a course that is not at all efficient to our goal. We're making about 2 knots good towards our waypoint at the moment with a boat speed of 4.6 through the water. That's okay, but we're only moving with 2.0 towards our goal, which is very frustrating. So we have the wind from this direction and we have a current that pushes us in this direction, and both together don't help on the other bow, so we would just drift too much to the north, which we don't want.
We could go anti-clockwise around Spitsbergen.
So Anton, how was your watch?
Fortunately, the wind seemed to stabilise, and we had steady winds of sort of 10 plus knots. Sea state is really calm, and we've had wind shifts of sort of 40 degrees quite regularly. So There's quite a bit of sail trimming going on. As we approach Spitsbergen tomorrow, we want to be certainly to the west for fear of sort of floating ice coming down off the coastline from the east.
It's shortly past 8 in the evening. Anton and Catherine have just gone for a rest. I'm on my shift until 1 o'clock in the morning, when Anton will take over from me. So we are sailing in about 10 to 14 knots. That's the range of speed we have, and the direction is from the east. But actually quite good. We have it on a beam. We're making around 6 knots, 6.5 knots, so which is absolutely great. I've just downloaded the last weather and checked it, and it has improved a bit in so far that it looks like we might be lucky to sail the whole night through. So that won't be the engine that will wake people up. The downside is that we assume that we'll have to run the engine anyway, so we can charge our batteries a bit with that. But that's now likely not to happen, so we're running the generator at the moment, which is quite noisy, and at the same time I put on the water maker. So poor Anton sleeping just beside the generator. I hope he can get some sleep with earplugs, and I will switch it off as soon as we have an acceptable state of charge for the battery. Land ho! There, on the horizon, about 50 nautical miles away, I can just start seeing the peaks of the mountains of Spitsbergen in the clouds. They look majestic. In Svalbard now. In the very back we see the mountains, the snow-covered mountains of southern Svalbard, of Sørland. And as we're approaching, we want to brush up and try out our weapons, because as we have, I think, already said, there's many polar bears on Svalbard, and it is the law that when you go ashore, except in Svalbard and I think in Ny-Ålesund, when you go ashore you must carry a rifle for polar bear protection, and also you need to have some other measures of deterrent. And we have here a signal gun and a so-called flashbang for this signal gun, and we're going to try it out because I want to know how these operate, how far they go, how they work. And so we're going to fire one here, and also I'm going to take up our shotgun and we're going to fire a few clay pigeon shots just to familiarize us with the manipulation and with the shooting of the gun. Ear protection. Okay, are we ready? Ready? Huh?
Yeah. Where is it?
Yeah, so that goes quite far actually. And I read, and I was told also in the shop where I bought it, that we have to be careful that we don't fire behind the polar bear because we might drive it towards us. So that's something to keep in mind. So you saw there was probably a 2 or 3 second delay from firing it until the bang came, and I think that's something we must engage when the polar bear is still quite far out.
Yes.
So that's
agree.
not to wait. When we spot one, I think that's the time to fire it. Now comes the gun. We have a gun license on board, so we're allowed to carry it and we're allowed to use it as well when needed. We received this on loan from our dear friend Svein Olaf, We have some exercise ammunition here. That's clay pigeon ammunition we're gonna put in just to check how it works. We've done some firing before, but it's just a repetition. The real ones are big slugs. They have a lead bullet in there that will expand, so, and they are 1 ounce, so quite heavy stuff purposes. Okay, that's the gun charged. We ready? In and 2 in. That's it, yeah. Then you close it. Now you check. Now it's ready to fire.
Yes.
So pull that one back. Now it's safe. If the
Safe,
S is
okay.
here, you can't press the button. If you want to fire, you press forward, and then
Okay.
you can shoot. 1 second.
Yeah, I'm not going to. And then just in here.
Out.
Like this, is this good?
Ready when you are.
Okay.
Don't hit the bird.
The polar bear training is to have 2 hits within 3 seconds in the kill zone, which is the chest area. So it's really bang bang.
Yes.
Yeah. And you got and then you need to reload, but that's your chance basically. So
Okay.
I think if you if you miss,
Then you run out of options.
yeah. It's 12:15, noon, and we're still on our way to Hornsund, which is just behind me. That bright area, that's the entrance to Hornsund. It's still about 30 nautical miles away, and we're sailing slowly at about 4 knots with the wind from behind, about 10 knots of wind. So we're enjoying a leisureful sail. I have contacted the Polish research station in Hornsund before via VHF and asked about the ice situation. They say there's a lot of growlers. Growlers are small icebergs. They're about maybe the size of a car, of a truck. And the difficulty with these is that they're difficult to spot because they only come out maybe half a meter to a meter out of the water, so they're sometimes difficult to spot, and they can be quite a danger to any boat actually. So but the guy at the research station said it's quite cool, it's easy, yeah, take care, but nothing to worry about, we can come in. So I think we'll go and check this out. Well, it's now 10 minutes past 2. Just a couple of minutes ago we decided to roll in the sails and to switch on the engine. The wind has come down. We're now having about 6 knots of true and right from the south, so we had to jibe our last way, and still we didn't make a lot of way. So when Catherine woke up from her well-deserved rest, we decided to switch on the engine and do the last couple of miles into Hornsund under engine. We have Hornsund right in front of us or behind me, and we're quite excited to go in there and to go in our first anchorage here on Spitsbergen. I'm just checking the ice charts here that we get on the barenswatch.no app, and you can see here the main island of Spitsbergen, and further down Hornsund, and the colors here depict a few things. So that light blue, this blue here, that means open water, so there's no ice to be expected. This pattern here, that slightly darker light blue, means that it's very open water, but it can still have up to 10% of ice cover. So we need to be careful of growlers here. That's something I will certainly find here. And what you see here on the back, these are actually all glaciers on land, but there's still some fast ice. So the grey is fast ice, 100% ice, that is still coming into the fjords. There's a few anchorages down here in this area. I don't think we can go and anchor there, but if weather permits, we will certainly take a cruise down here and have a look how this looks. But I would expect a lot of ice down here, and maybe even it being impossible for us to go in there. We're approaching the Polish Polar Station at Hornsund. It's about 2.5 nautical miles in. There's at least one other boat that is anchored in there, and we hope we're gonna have a calm anchorage. It's quite rough out here. It's about 12-13 knots of wind, but there's quite some waves that have actually already built. And I think with this wind direction just right out of the fjord, we also risk to have then later on maybe some ice coming out. So we should be well tucked to the side if we go in here, and we hope we get a nice calm anchorage. Well, we've achieved something. We've done 530 nautical miles since we left Tromsø. We've been on the way for 7 days now, with a stop obviously in Bjørnøya for 2-3 days, and we've done, I think, quite well. So we've arrived in Hornsund today, and we're in an anchorage called Isbjørnhamna, just outside the Polish research station. It's still quite cold here, so or maybe that's normal. It's 3 degrees, and there's many small icebergs, they're called Growlers, are outside. They may be the size of a car or of a truck, as you can see behind me, and these are quite dangerous, so we have to be constantly out on watch and check for them. It's also, we discovered when we came in, it's actually not these that are quite well visible, but it's there's smaller pieces of ice actually which are very difficult to see. So they're maybe the size of canister, a water canister or so. I would say maybe 20 to 50 kilos. Very small, very transparent. They hardly come above the waves, and I think these are the really bad ones if we would hit one of these, because you can hardly see them, and if you crash into one of these, that's probably quite the damage that you put on your boat. Obviously we are watching out for polar bears. We shouldn't let them come too close to us, and as this harbour here is called Isbjørnhamna, which means polar bear harbour, it might be that there are actually quite a few around. But so far the only ice bear we have seen is the ice structure over there that looks a bit like an ice bear. So that's Catherine's dried fish, caught at Easter and hung behind Polaris ever since. It's not fully dry, it's still a bit bendable, and yeah, Anton just said it's like biltong. The beef, it's just better fish. It tastes actually quite well.
And we took it in because we are afraid that the ice bear, the polar bear can smell it.
Yes, the polar bear.
Even it doesn't smell, but I think the polar bear, they have really sensitive.
We just read they are very sensitive noses. Yeah. They can smell it, and I just don't want to take the risk here.
There are 3,000 polar bears on Svalbard.
Das ist gut, da kann man so gut das Ding essen, kann man aus.
So I think this guy, he will check us out, but the stick is ready, and you can hear the crackling noise. There is another one. Yeah, but the night was okay.
This is just a small piece of ice that passed Polaris, but these are the ones we have to take care. You don't want one of these in the rudder or actually bumping your side as well. But that one just slid past. And out there's quite a few more icy bits that we now can see, particularly also over here. They're moving, they're coming out of the fjord. It's a very particular sound these make. This constant clicking, popping noise that comes from collapsing air bubbles trapped inside the ice is quiet. But in this vast area, where there is no other sound, it is actually very loud. And at anchor, you can hear it even through the hull, marking the presence of ice in the proximity. We think it's time to leave this lovely place. All these smaller and larger pieces of ice seem to be moving towards us. It's also the wind is driving them towards us. It's a very little wind, it's about 4 knots, but that's enough to slowly drive these pieces of ice towards us. So I think we'll make our way out here through that gap here. That's where the water is still navigable, and this is the plan, to go out and then go in this direction up the fjord. But you can see there's quite some ice out there as well. So we'll see how far up we can get, and we'll decide later on whether we'll stay in Hornsund for another night or whether we call it a day and move on to the next one, which would be Belsund.
So karg es ist, so schön ist es. How are you feeling?
Good. All looks good. There's no ice out here, so I really think we were in the worst of the areas in there, full of ice. That's all come out, and yeah, we're heading into the fjord and see how far we can get in.
And the view is breathtaking, is
It's
it?
really
It's
great.
really.
It's also nice. The sun is out. It really gives a special picture with the cloud-shouldered mountains, and no, it's beautiful. It's really beautiful.
Well, it's absolutely stunning. It's like being on a film set, really.
Yes, it is.
It's hard to imagine that this is the summer out here. So you realise what it must be like in the depths of winter. But it is absolutely amazing, and I think that, I mean, the clarity in the air is, and I think we've been very lucky with the weather. The sun's out.
Wie ein echter Tschucker.
Er ist der coolste Polizist im Wallis.
Ich bin Tschucker.
Tschucker, neue Serie aus dem Wallis.
First proper landing with Fred, without the drama, yes.
We carefully check the shoreline for polar bears before we land on the pebble stone beach of Gåshamna. But nevertheless, there are many bumps and ridges where one of these apex predators might still be, hidden from our eyes. not the time to let our guards down. Our intention is to land with the dinghy near the middle of this about 3.5 kilometer long beach. Unfortunately, our plan does not work out, as streams of glacier water block our way. So, back to the dinghy. Which way first? The shore of Gåshamna is still scattered with whale bones, bleached and broken, lying where they have rested for centuries. Silent traces of an older industry that once filled this bay with fire, smoke and noise. Against this backdrop of deep time stands the remains of a small trapper hut on the east side of the bay, slowly collapsing back into the land. Built in the early 20th century, the hut was never meant to endure, only to shelter a man through the Arctic winter. Rough timber walls, a low roof, and a simple stove were all that separated its occupant from the cold and darkness outside. From here, the trapper set out day after day to check fox traps in the valleys, living alone for months in a landscape ruled by weather, ice and silence. When trapping no longer paid, the hut was left behind, its doors surrendered to wind and snow. Today, it stands broken and fragile, protected and untouched, a quiet reminder that long after the whalers were gone, survival in Hornsund still demanded endurance, patience and solitude.
The graves, huh? Possibly, yeah.
From the 1620s.
What do you do? Yeah, they're shaped in that.
1620.
What, when the first settlers were here?
No, that was, I think, from the 1620s. There were whale hunters here in the 1620s.
Right.
That's from them then. So what do we think this piece of poo is?
I say it's a polar fox.
So it might be a polar fox, yes. It might be a polar bear as well. Although maybe it's a bit small.
Yes.
Maybe it's a polar bear pup.
No,
I don't
even
know.
then it's too small.
But there's no other animals here that I think would poo like this other than a polar fox.
But we have to
or-
admit that actually don't know how the poo of a polar bear looks like.
No? We
We
might
know
have to look it
how
up
the
today.
poo does look like of a cow or a sheep.
And in the meantime also from a reindeer.
So let's put some logic
Yes,
into
for
this.
reindeer as well.
Walrus and seals actually defecate in water. Reindeers produce heaps of small round pellets. Arctic fox scat is small and often twisted or tapered, which our evidence is clearly not. So in my view, that leaves only the polar bear as the culprit. Polar bears are quite regularly seen in the Hornsund area, roaming the shores and ice
Like to
flows for
touch
food.
it just to make sure if it's warm.
But it's been warmed so that it's melted in.
Or what do you think? As we move westward along the bay, the shoreline begins to change in subtle ways. Low stone walls appear among the moss, gravel and rocks, so weathered they almost seem part of the land itself. These quiet remains mark one of the very first chapter of human presence on Svalbard. More than 350 years ago, this calm corner of Hornsund was filled with noise, movement and urgency. From around 1620, European whaling ships sailed north each summer and dropped anchor here, drawn by waters rich with bowhead whales. Life here was never meant to last. Crews lived in rough shelters exposed to cold storms. Every day was a race against the coming winter, against injury, exhaustion and loss. The danger was real, but the reward was powerful. Whale oil shipped south to light the streets and homes across Europe. The work began the moment a ship arrived. Whales were hauled ashore, their massive bodies cut apart on the beach, blubber stripped away and fed into open fires. Crude stone ovens burned day and night, boiling the fat into oil. By the early 1700s, the whale had vanished, and Gåshamna grew quiet once more. Today, these fragile ruins are all that remain, protected, untouched, and slowly fading, silent witnesses of a brief moment when human ambition pressed hard against the Arctic and then moved on. Join us next time when we continue our trip north and explore Svalbard's capital Longyearbyen.
This is a special place, I like it.
We're going on a hike. I love it.
And it's not Anton who said he wants to stop, it's me.
My goal is to get you all 16 as furthest in as fast as possible.